Never think you're too gone or too far away, or you just did some mess up stuff in life that you cannot be accepted, you cannot be loved or received or even forgiven for your past mistakes. My name is Jorge Delgado. This is my story. Growing up in the city of Houston, I was the fifth child out of 8. Grew up in a very dysfunctional home. Religious acts, principles, belief, or even discipline itself was not taught in my house. Having role models who've been past incarcerated or in gangs, that was just the lifestyle that I felt like was mapped out to me. Seeing my mom and dad struggle with alcohol and marijuana abuse and fighting all the time, to me that was just normal. At a very young age, my older brother, who I look up to, was put in jail for a crime he committed. So me just looking up to him and just him having a name in the streets for himself, I chose to carry on his legacy. As he was put in, I was just stepping off the porch and I wanted to carry on his name with pride, so I started doing the same stuff he was doing. Jacking and robbing and just beating up people. Joined a gang, street gang, the same street gang he was in. Started picking up marijuana, started smoking, started popping pills, Xanax bars, started drinking, skipping school, getting in fights. At the age of 15, found myself carrying a gun on me, going out late nights, 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, robbing people, coming out of bars, clubs, homes, parking lots, just jacking them and robbing them on sight. I found myself living a life of crime. When I say June, don't remember the exact date, of 2005, I committed an aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon. I shot him twice, back of the head. I knew he wasn't dead because he was in a car, so I was trying to jack his car. Really, I was just trying to rob him. But he was in his car, he had it in a park, he was in apartments. Needless to say, I did not take the car. How did they catch me? Well, I had a friend that was with me at the time. Well, he went on, continued robbing people, sticking people up. I kind of went my own direction. And eventually he got caught, got arrested for a robbery. So when they took him into integration, they brought up this case, seeing he knew anything about it. And him, cracking under pressure, told the cops my name. 2 months later, I was charged with that crime. 2 weeks after that, I was put into juvenile detention center. A month after that, I was charged as an adult. I was sentenced to a 16-year sentence to Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Or to me, my life was over with. I felt like it was the dead end. My life was over. That was it. You know, I literally cried in court. My mom was in the stands crying. Even when I went up to sign the paper, I was just in tears. And I remember the lady sitting right next to the judge. Even she was in tears. You know, arriving to prison, I joined a prison gang. Not just that, but my older brother, he was also at the same prison as me, awaiting upon my arrival. Asked me what I was gonna do. I told him what I was gonna do, join the same gang he was in. Make him feel proud of me to be that little brother he always wanted. But little did I know that's not what he wanted. But he understand my decision. Yes, till this day we still keep in contact, and he's just very happy where I'm at in life. I was put on a wing. They had a bunch of young kids as myself, from the age of 14 to the age of 17. And we were all there for different cases. People was there for robbery, burglary, even murder. You know, people having 40 to 50 years for murder charge at a very young age. The first thing I had to do was get a check to see where my heart was at. As they call it, a Kodak check. Basically, you fight 2 to 3 men at one time just to see if you're gonna be able to hold your own. So I had to fade that. I did. It took me 3 times to get it. But I passed the check. I was part of the gang. I found myself checking new kids that's coming in. Now, I was the first one to jump up and say, hey, I want to be the one to check them. I want to be the one to see where he's at. Upon arriving in juvenile, the first thing I noticed in my room was a Bible. Never ever day in my life read a Bible. I was just sitting there in my bunk, and I actually started opening up and reading. As I transitioned to juvenile, to the county, there was a good friend of mine. I call him my preacher. he was there for a murder charge himself. He just called me to his door and let us come out for my hour. Okay, and kind of used to get like an hour a day. We used to come out and just use the phone, shower, walk around the tank. So when I used to come out for my hour, he was always coming to his door. And he would just start ministering to me. Like, he just started telling me his testimony, telling me about Jesus. Man, he would just tell me how God was really wanting me to get my life, change my life, give my life to him. And I believe that, something my heart kind of drew to it, but I wasn't all in. I wasn't fully like, let's do it. Just going to prison, going through the motions of this lifestyle I was living, smoking weed in prison, carrying contraband, fighting, been involved in a couple of riots before, doing checks, gambling, idolizing sports, idolizing tattoos, idolizing weed and marijuana. I remember going to church, sitting in the back pews, rolling up weed so I could go to my cell and smoke it while the man was trying to give the word, preach the word. I was in the back pews just smoking up weed, using Bible, ripping pages out the Bibles and smoking my weed. I used to be that guy. But yeah, man, after doing a certain length of time, my time came up for parole back in 2013. I had 8 years done in 16. I was eligible for my first parole. And I was talking to this guy who was a devoted Christian. My whole theme of the church was people are so holy. And someone like me, I just couldn't, I had no business. I was just so totally the opposite. One night, working in the kitchen, 2 o'clock in the morning, drinking coffee, preparing food for the convicts that they come in at 4 or 5 in the morning, come eat breakfast. And I asked him one question, like, hey, do you think I'm ready? And he looked me straight in the eyes and told me, nope, if you're not following Jesus, you ain't ready. Exact words were, you're going to get out, you're going to do the same thing that brought you in here. So why you even get out? So if you ain't following the Lord, you ain't going to be ready. That really hit me. My mom was like, man, this guy's tripping. Talking about following Jesus. Come on now. There was another good brother of Christ of mine named Sean. He was actually the first guy who started to really witness to me while I was in prison. We lived in the same dorm together. So he used to come up to me, he used to share his food, share his coffee. We used to love sports. We would watch football all day Sunday together. One day he just used to just preach to me. And he asked me occasional times that I ever believed, was I ready to commit my life, to get baptized. In 2015, came up for parole again. This time I found myself in a faith-based dorm with a bunch of Christians and Muslims, Buddhists, and different religion. And I was just in there because it looked good for parole. Met a guy named David Ray Howe, my boy from San Antonio, Texas, a born-again believer. Found myself just interacting with him from day to day. Just him even like friending me was like, blew my mind. Like, why this kid who's following Jesus want to work out, hang out, and invite me to eat with him? I thought when Christians hung out with Christians. One night, it's like, I feel like the Lord told me to tell you that He's knocking at your heart. That you are stubborn and you got a lot of bitterness and hardness built up. But the Lord is being patient with you. He's not going to force His way in. He said whenever you are ready to let Him in, it's like He really want to change your life. For the first time in my life, them words seem so real. I just looked at him, stared at him, and like, okay, cool. And I walked to my bunk and went to sleep. Following after that, I was given a set-off. So this was my third set-off for parole. I was devastated, I was heartbroken, I was angry. I just felt like I wasn't gonna make it. And I cried that night, really just like, and what do I have to do to make parole? And I felt a voice spoke to me, said, give your life to me so I could turn it around for my good and give you a life you never thought you could live. And I heard a voice spoke to me again. It said, you will not leave a prison the same way you came in. So when that voice spoke to me that way, I had a sense where that voice came from. So it came down to months later, back in November 2015. I just got tired and fed up. I feel like I had no hope. I have nothing to live for. Lord told me to give my life away. Surrender so He could do something with it. So the Sunday before Thanksgiving, 2015, is when I gave my life to Christ. I decided to take that step of faith. So a few months later, I was baptized by my good friend, brother in Christ, LBJ, Lawrence Birch Jr. Him and my bro David were the two guys who helped me, who taught me and walked along with me in my Christian journey. And it's being in a large congregation, not only having fellow brethren, Christians, but also former gang members who were in the same gang as mine. Me getting baptized that day was like a refresh, announcing my faith in front of a large crowd, unashamed, and showing everybody who I was choosing to follow. It wasn't the drugs, it wasn't the women, it wasn't this criminal lifestyle, it wasn't the gang, it was Jesus himself. Coming home, getting plugged into a community, Antioch, Bay Area, being surrounded by a bunch of fellow Christians, strong believers in the faith, really taught me a lot. Being part of this community has blessed me in so many ways. I do not know where I'd be without my Bay Area Antioch family. Being in car sales now, chasing the dream of goal that I set myself that I never thought I'd be able to live. On my way to purchasing my own place. Just really glorifying God and Jesus in my work and just sharing my story with my fellow co-workers. Now, about now, at least half of them know about my testimony. But yeah, just being in a career. Appreciate to my boy Victor Rivas for getting me plugged into the dealership. It's awesome, it's been amazing, and God has continued to show up. And I know there's so much more He wants to do in my life. This is just the beginning. So my advice to you who's watching, who may have been impacted or touched by my testimony, first and foremost, I like to say, all glory to Jesus. It's not me, it's Him. Never think you're too gone or too far away, or you just did some messed up stuff in life that you cannot be accepted. You cannot be loved or received or even forgiven for your past mistakes. Ask the Lord to help. Reach out to a local church. Reach out to a family member or a friend who may be plugged into a church. Or just reach out to the Lord Himself, who's only an ear away. Jesus is real. God does save. And He's in the miracle business. He loves to transform us. He created us for a purpose and for a reason. My whole life I wasted time. I wasted trying to find a reason, a purpose to live. But then when I found Jesus, I just threw away all the other stuff and I just chose to run after Him. Thank you for listening to my story, and all glory be to Jesus. I'm out.